Hello all. It's Monday evening, March 26, 6 p.m., Harvey Hearing Room. Ms. Hames, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Fabiano?
Here.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Mr. Perrin?
Here.
Ms. Powell? Here. Ms. Swope?
Present.
Mr. Vecchia?
Present.
Mr. Capabianco?
Here. All right, I'd like to make a motion to move the meeting out of order so we can enter the, actually, I made a mistake. We used the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. President Vecchia, please read the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So since we have a few students here this evening, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and move to the delegates and visitors portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Seconded by Ms. Powell. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So I'd like to read two citations that the school committee would like to present. Whereas a resolution, whereas Tejuan McKenzie and Devin Pulsiver has scored 1,000 points in their length as high school basketball career. Whereas Tejuan McKenzie and Devin Pulsiver has had a strong positive impact on their peers and teammates through their display of sportsmanship, therefore be it resolved that the school committee of the town of Winthrop express its congratulations and best wishes, and that it is voted to be part of the official minutes of the Winthrop School Committee on March 26, 2018. So,
I'd like to invite the students up. I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
seconded by Ms. Powell. All in favor? We'll do yeah, we'll have them in front of you.
Congratulations. Thanks.
Great job. Great job, buddy.
Get one over here. Hey guys, one minute.
You guys get to know. You're awfully tall. I guess that's how you get it.
Maybe we're short, this is bad. Short and fat.
Coach,
I'm going to get him.
You're gonna get in the back.
You have to get him. We're also trying to get him.
Or actually, could you
Stand on the table?
around that?
Yeah.
Oh. I think we're
Behind the table.
She'll be on the table, we can't.
Can you guys go behind the table? Sorry.
Yeah.
All of us?
Here's hoping we're not doing
Thursday up front.
You can do that, yeah. if you wanna go
But they're
back.
tall.
Okay, just
We go behind, they'll stay out front.
We're staying up front.
No, yeah. Let's go behind. Yeah.
I never was seen like that. It's too tall.
We'll run by this one.
Can you guys go back there with them
Do you want me to stand on the table? Because that's all. Let's do it. They're gonna block me.
That's my bad side.
you let these guys in.
All right, wait a minute. I'll stand right behind you. How's that?
So now they're blocking me. This isn't gonna work.
Okay, ready? Right over here. One more. Can you go in just a little bit more? There you go. Perfect.
Standing on my
Thank
tippy
you.
toes.
They have homework to do with basketball to play. So
Yep.
Hi, guys.
Bye, guys. Great job, great job.
Do they have anything?
Caleb, you guys have anything? You guys have stuff to say? You just hanging out for the fun?
And we appreciate it.
You do.
All right, so any public comment? See. All right, here is no public comment. We'd like to start the budget hearing.
Sorry, I'm
Oh.
sorry. This is my first time. I'm new. I'm here to comment.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm sorry. My name is Sebastian Amiot, and I'm a resident here at Winthrop for about 15 years. I have 3 children in the school district, including one in the pre-K, Little Viking, and I just wanted to talk about that today. So I don't know if that's apologies. I'm not sure what the decorum and what the rules are, but I just wanted to mention that.
Are we open for?
Yes.
At this point, we're open for public comment and the budget?
Yep.
Or
But
pub-
we should do
Public
public,
comment.
did you say public comment first?
Yep, we'll do public comment.
So go ahead.
So it's okay. I'm not sure. It's hard to know a little bit of all the facts. I'm not sure I have all the facts, but my understanding, my daughter, as I mentioned, is in with Miss Andrea for this year for the program. We've been very happy with it, and our understanding is that there's talks about being moved back to Gorman Fort Banks from the high school where it is. I think there's another parent here. We're concerned about that, and we're been very happy with the program the way it is here, with the location, with the ability to have the interaction with the life skills as well that's in the high school. I have a 15-year-old that's most likely going to be in that program maybe next year or soon. So I just wanted to express that. So I'm not sure if the decision has been made, if there's anything that we can say, do, and how that works exactly. But that's my comment.
So I'm not sure if maybe during the budget presentation it may be addressed, but I can give you a little bit of feedback if we want to do that, or if we're just going with public comment, I can stay with that as well.
I'm okay with a little feedback now.
Okay? Ms. Pearson, you okay with that? So as a school district, so I'm sure there's been lots of conversation about the program at the high school. We have a program at the high school called Little Vikings. It's an excellent program, very well run. At the present time, there are 15 students attending that program. It's a preschool program. And right now, what we're looking at as an entire school, for the entire school district, is the preschool enrollment. So preschool is not, as you know, not mandatory. It's a choice, it's a parent choice, and we offer an integrated preschool program for our school district. The program at the high school right now is not reflective of a complete integrated program. So there's a piece of that we needed to look at to make sure that we're in compliance with the integrated program rules and regulations around how we service students as a whole. And we're also looking at a number of things play into preschool eligibility. So we have students that come in through early intervention, students who require direct service, either speech and language, occupational therapy, academic support. And so those students come to us through the eligibility process. So through preschool screening, if a student is found to need more than just a typical preschool program, they are made eligible under Special Ed 504, and the school district is obligated to provide those services for those students. In running an integrated program, we have the opportunity to provide those services in a classroom setting with typical peers. So the ratio of typical peers in students with special needs is 8 and 7. So we have 8 typical students who do not have an IEP or a 504 plan in the same classroom as 7 students who may have an IEP or who do have an IEP or 504 services. So the way our classrooms are set up are based on the enrollment. So the students with special needs, we are obligated to provide them with their service. So they qualify for preschool for free because the district, through eligibility, has to provide them with the specialized instruction. And then the general education students, who make up 8 students per classroom, are students whose parents choose to pay and choose them to have them in an integrated program. So in looking at programming each school year, you have to look at the total number of students that the district has to provide the service for, and then match that up with students in an integrated program being students, general ed students who do not require that service. So at this time, we're still looking at the number of students that we have. What we're finding is the number of students who are needing direct service is larger this year than it has been in the past. Early intervention is also reporting to us that before January, we will have several more students who are going to require specialized instruction. So when we start to figure out what our numbers are, we have to look at the total numbers of teachers we have and the total number of paraprofessionals or ESPs that we have, as well as the service delivery that we have to provide to our students, whether it be speech and language, OT, PT, or specialized academic instruction. And we take the number of students that we have to by, certainly by eligibility, provide service to, and start to put them into the individual classrooms, and then open up the seats for the total number of eligible general ed students we have. So the Little Vikings program this year has 15 students in it, and next year what we're looking at is only being able to service about 8 general ed students in that 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock program. And so we do have certainly the need to change the total number of students that we can take, and also the structure of the class will change because it will be integrated and not solely a classroom for students without special needs. And so in order to do that, right now, with the staff that we have, moving the program to the Fort Bank School will enable us to provide that service on site with the teachers that we have. Otherwise, we would have to add teachers, specialists, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, and at this point, we're not 100% sure how many in order to provide those services in a totally different building. Teachers exist at the Gorman Fort Banks now, and the teachers do not exist at the pre-K level at the high school. So ideally, we don't want to change the setting at all, but at this point, I'm not seeing any other options. We've worked very closely with Jen O'Connell, who's the PPS director, as well as Eileen Pearson, who's the principal. We are drilling it down to looking at the direct service delivery of every student in pre-K or students that may be incoming to us to see how we could potentially spread the staff out a little bit or make use of some of the staff at the high school. So we've probably spent upwards of 25 hours looking at direct service delivery, teachers' schedules, the school's budget as a whole, and trying to figure out sort of creative ways of keeping it at the building. I do know the benefits. I happen to be on the building design team when we started building the middle high school, and the cafeteria and the cafe that we have on the second floor, as well as the preschool, were 2 big pieces of the design of that building. It is beneficial to the preschool students, but it's also beneficial to the students at the high school who are perhaps thinking of going into the field. And so we have some work to do there as well in terms of the quality of that type of program that we are running, and making sure that there are parameters set up if we are having, whether it's our life skills students or last year there was a child growth and development class that was able to participate in that classroom, and we're working with Mr. Crombie on trying to get that shored up as well in the event that, in the future we'll be able to keep the program going. So at this point in time, the program, some people have asked me about why we're dismantling it. We are not dismantling the Little Vikings program. We're moving the location for sure as of today. And that's based on programmatic need and having to really provide our students with an equitable education for preschool that is inclusive, for sure. So once our numbers vet out a little bit better, I've asked the school committee if perhaps we could have a parent meeting. We're not quite there yet. I'm still working with the principals and certainly the PPS director at the design, and trying to do everything that we can do, not to make a lot of changes. Certainly, compliance is a big issue, and student equity. The inclusion piece to me is very important, that we're providing an equitable pre-K program at both schools if we can do it.
Okay.
So I don't know how clear that was.
Just stepping out.
So at this point, Lisa, anybody that's transitioned from early intervention, say at 3 years old, right now they are going to the Gorman Fort Bank School, correct?
Correct.
And the other 15 students that are in the Little Vikings now, none of them are on IEPs. But that's what you want to change. You want to change it to 8 and 7.
Right. So we're running out of room at the Gorman Board Banks, to be blunt. We're running out of special education space. And I don't mean physical space, I mean the number of teachers we have and the number of slots we have available for students with IEPs. We're exceeding that, and based on projections and actuals from our preschool screening, we don't have enough teachers to meet the needs of the students that require specialized instruction in pre-K. So given the teachers that we have to reconfigure those teachers to make sure that we will have enough room, or we have to come back and ask the school committee for additional teachers. But based on the teaching staff that we have, we can reconfigure the teachers we have to meet the needs of the students. But we can't do it if we leave the classroom at the high school, because they need access to other teachers and specialists within the
But the 15 that are in there today, are any of them on IEPs?
I don't believe so. Jen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, maybe one student, but they don't receive their services at Winthrop High School.
So
They go
all,
over to the Gorman Fort Banks to receive their
all
services.
those students are there.
Correct.
And the law says that we're supposed to, or inclusion says we should do 8 and 7 in those classes, something to that
So
effect.
if you're an inclusionary classroom, yes. There's also, my prior life, as you know, spent many years as a special ed director, and there are compliance issues, there are some equity issues. I want to be very clear that the quality of teaching and the quality of support system by the ESPs and the amount of sort of benefit that both our students at the high school receive and our preschool students currently receive in the Little Vikings program is not in question at all whatsoever. It's a very strong program with excellent teaching staff. What we're missing is the ability for students to receive specialized instruction in that building without us having to add additional teaching staff and ancillary service providers, speech and OT, to that classroom.
Does all the preschools have to be inclusionary? Is that part of the requirement?
So
like, could you have a
can't,
program?
what I can tell you is you cannot be exclusionary.
Exclusionary, right.
So inclusion is certainly the way the world is designed and the way that the Department of Education and special education law wants you to go. To that effect, we have self-contained special education classrooms that don't have regular education students in them. So a self-contained classroom of 9 kids who have autism in a classroom with a special ed teacher all day long because they don't have the capacity yet to access the general curriculum. In a preschool classroom where students have the capacity to access the general curriculum, you can't lock them out of that by not allowing them in. And so that's the direction I'm working with the principal and the PPS director. That's the direction we need to head in to make sure that we're meeting all of those requirements. And again, preschool is optional if you do not have an IEP or in some cases a 504. What's not optional is providing specialized instruction to students who qualify. Sometimes my special ed language sort of goes over the top. I understand that, so I'm trying not to. But I am looking forward to perhaps doing a session with parents who do have questions once we're able to get to the point where we know exactly what the class makeup is going to look like. We're close. And as of right now, you are correct, it would be very difficult to provide a classroom at Winthrop High School of all general education preschool students at no additional cost to the district. And it is not a self-sustaining program. Any special ed director and hopefully superintendent in the Commonwealth will tell you that preschool is very difficult unless you're charging a tuition of about $20,000 per student per year because of the cost of the teachers and the staff that needs to be in the classroom, as well as all the other things that go along with providing that education.
Any further public comment?
On this subject?
Just,
I guess my only question is, the MSBA right now is doing an audit on us, and we're looking to get the rest of our reimbursement in June. Part of the, and maybe Mr. Cromley can be clearer on this, part of the curriculum that was sent into the state before the schools were built and before MSBA said we could have the money was this program was part of it. Now you're saying you're not going to have a program anymore in that school. for younger children. We've already lost the other program you had for the kids that want to get into the medical careers program. We've lost that. So those are two programs now that MSBA took into consideration when they gave us the money. Said, yes, you can build this new school and we will reimburse you 59%. That's two programs. What is going to happen if MSBA comes in and does another audit?
So MSBA will be here before the end of the school year. We certainly won't not tell them the truth about what is happening or what is potentially going to happen for next school year. The goal is for the program to come back and for us to be able to, with thoughtful planning and with the ability to provide additional specialized instruction at the high school, for us to be able to not take that program and never put it back in the school. That is not the goal. But for the upcoming school year, based on the numbers of students that we have and the incoming preschool students that we know that are coming, and the current staff that we have, and the budget that we're facing upcoming, I do not anticipate that we'll be able to cover those costs by adding additional staff to the high school for that sole purpose.
I'm not questioning that at all, believe me. And I saw Mr. Maceros walked in, I'm kind of glad, because he knows more about that curriculum.
So I was part of that team that helped design that along
Right.
with John. And my memory is not short, and I do remember exactly what we told the MSBA. And I have no issue in sitting with them and explaining, and Matt and I have done some work on that already, explaining to them the situation that we're in this upcoming fiscal year, as well from a programmatic standpoint and a fiscal standpoint. And I don't know if you want to elaborate on anything from Tina, but.
No, I mean, there's not too much more to add besides that. I think they won't be coming to see us until the end of June.
I understand that, but again, you know, I don't know what it'll do to the reimbursement.
To my knowledge, what I've been told thus far is that it will have no impact on it, as long as there is a plan, and that the district is not just wiping something out for the sake of wiping it out. So I certainly will have more conversation with them when they come in June, for sure.
Well, it seems like medical careers has been wiped out, because I mean, it's been gone a year, and it doesn't look like it's gonna make it next year, the ensuing year. It's probably not making the following year. And it sounds like it's gonna be the same thing with this Little Viking program. I mean, you're moving it to the Gorman School, still calling it the Little Viking program, which it really is not anymore.
So,
It was a Little Viking program when it was in the high school. It was designed for that. There was money put into that area. There was a very nice playground put into that area. There was separate entrances put into that. And now, that's gone.
like I said, the plan is for it not to be gone forever. The plan is to bring it into compliance and to make sure, you know, that the MSBA certainly, with all due respect to them, they concern me. The Office of Civil Rights and the Department of Education, in terms of equity of special education and general education, is far more of a concern given the impact on children. You know, my goal would not be to leave a classroom empty and a playground and a park that was designed for that purpose empty. But in the best interest of the school district, my recommendation to the committee is to bring it into compliance so that we can get back to work in terms of making a program, or having a program that meets the compliance, you know, and the regulations around IDEA and around civil rights for our students. It's not super simple to do overnight, especially where we are in the budget process, you know, and looking at our projected numbers that are incoming. Got a pretty significant increase coming out of early intervention for next year, which is pretty much a guarantee if you're in early intervention at 3, that you're going to require services to continue at 4, you know, at the preschool stage. But I understand the concern. Certainly, when we meet with MSBA in June, it is something, you know, we're not going to lose reimbursement money if we don't have to. And if they tell us they're taking money from us, then we have some work to do in terms of meeting with the school committee again.
All right, thank you. I mean, we have this is usually public comment, not discussion, but I know it's very important, and there's a lot of folks that have reached out to us all last week, so that's why I wanted to let that discussion move on. But we have a whole hearing set up, so we have to move on with that. So let's move on with the school department budget proposal for the 2018-2019 school year. Mr. Misery, you can go ahead.
Oh, I just want to make sure, no.
I would really prefer moving on with the proposal, and then we'll go back to it afterwards, because this is a long proposal. This is because this has been a long topic. So, but you just
2 seconds. I saw it on TV. I wanted to come down and just clarify. John Macero, 43 Dolphin Ave, obviously former superintendent. The purpose of the preschool building classroom, just so that everybody understands, under the MSBA project, was really for high school students, for the child development class, to have an opportunity to work with real-life preschool-aged children. In talking to Mrs. Howard, I certainly understand the situation that she's in, and I have dealt with it where I'm at as well, and we're looking at trying to create. They have to have it. She feels that there's an equity issue there that needs to be taken care of, and so I understand the integration of it. I guess my thing would be is if there's a way at some point that you can fund that program to help and fund the program for the students to be able to take that course. I think that's the issue that really needs to happen, because that was the vision. And as Ms. Chavez says, the vision of 2 classes, the medical careers and that class, was put there so that for high school students, that was the only reason why they reimbursed us for that classroom, was because it was originally intended for high school students to be part of that program. And I know that it's not lost. I know that you're working hard to try to make it continue at some point. And so I just wanted you to get the understanding of what that real purpose was when we were putting that classroom in. And perhaps we should have, on my end, we should have integrated it more. But we didn't at the time, because we just were looking at it from the perspective of students coming in from the high school. So that's all. I just wanted to clarify that.
And
thank you.
Thank you, John. And to talk just one more second about that. If in fact MSBA were to come back and say we would lose reimbursement for that, there are other options which I would prefer it be our public school program within the high school and not another preschool program. However, being a person who has designed programs for many years, there are other options to fill that classroom with preschool students if it ever meant that MSBA was going to take funding away from the school. And that can be anything from offering the classroom for a year to Shore Collaborative, Scene Collaborative, or another private preschool, if in fact it was going to impact our eligibility for reimbursement. So it's not an all or none. I prefer not to do that, only because my end goal would be to have a program there, a public school program, as soon as we can. And if we rent it out, typically renting it out for a year is not too many people will want to do that. However, if it's at the risk of losing any funding from MSBA, I can assure you that I will be reaching out to collaboratives, if need be, or private programs to bring a preschool into the building that would not affect our meeting our own compliance issues under IDEA, but also with the MSBA.
Moving on, I'd like to open up the hearing for the school department budget proposal for the Winthrop Public Schools fiscal year 2018-2019.
So, as many people know, we've had several meetings on the budget. To give you an idea, the principals and myself have met several times to discuss the needs of their individual buildings. I have met with the teachers separately in each building to talk about where they felt the needs were in terms of adding to the budget, reprogramming of anything, curriculum that they may need, thoughts on the budget moving forward. We have presented a needs-based budget to the subcommittee of the school committee based on projected enrollment, projected class size, principal recommendation, assistant principal recommendation, PPS director, athletic director recommendations, as well as facilities. We've met with all of the custodians and reviewed the custodial needs of each building. We've reviewed the contracts and service arrangements that the district has in place in terms of the length of those contracts, the renewal of those contracts, and the needs-based budget that had been presented to the subcommittee of the school committee is a reflection of all of that. This meeting today, I believe, is held so that the public can add comments and ask questions of the principals who are here and myself, and so that if the school committee has any additional questions, that they may be able to do that as well. So I'm not sure if you want to proceed in any different way with that, or if you want to open it up for the public comment.
Any public comment directly towards the budget? After this hearing, we're going to our original meeting and this public comment of that section. Any questions directly pertaining towards the budget? Ms. Travis.
I have looked at the budget. The transportation is still in there, and I know that an RFP went out for that. Now, I know, Susan, I know my figures probably are not accurate as far as transportation is concerned. I could not find gas inspections or insurance in this budget, so I imagine it must be part of the town budget?
Yes.
Okay. But what I came up with is about $490,000 in this budget that's for transportation. And I'm just wondering how far, you don't have to answer, I just comment, how far has it gone with the RFP to outsource transportation and get that out of your budget? I also saw that the curriculum coordinator is still in the budget. I did not understand what extracurricular was on page 16.
That pays for the stipends for the activities at the high school and middle school.
Okay.
You know, class advisors, things like that. The club accounts.
$92,000 worth?
Excuse me?
$92,000 worth?
It's even more than that, because
what
they
about
pay
the
an
$100?
activity fee. Excuse
What
me?
about the $100 that you said?
That goes towards it also.
And as far as the Miller Field, I know the field, I don't know if it's over to you yet.
John.
But as far as Miller Field is concerned, I did see that you had a $15,000 field maintenance stipend. What does that involve?
So I can answer that. So just to speak to transportation, let me go back to the first question. that you had. So in terms of transportation, an RFP went out through the town back a couple of months ago, 2 months ago, for to Salter, to Healy, and Roselle. And the only, we had one response on the bid, and it was from Healy. I provided that bid to the transportation subcommittee, and figures as well as the bid. I provided them with the cost analysis of transportation, general ed transportation, and athletics, right, to the subcommittee, so that they could take a peek at that and see the cost associated with us providing our service from within. That included, just to speak to your point, gas, maintenance, completely broken down by the general ed transportation piece as well as the athletic transportation. And so that is still in subcommittee and there'll be a subcommittee, I'm sure, subcommittee discussion during the general meeting tonight. And it is going to remain there because there's still work to do with Healy Bus. We've asked them for some more clarification, so we're waiting to hear back from them in terms of how they broke out the athletic runs. They seem to have broken it out by mileage. I would like the mileage to be looked at a little bit closer with our now having our own field back and not having to make so many trips and travel. I would like more of an accurate reflection of what it would cost to totally subcontract it out. So that is where the transportation piece sits, and it's broken. Special education transportation is separate from that, but those costs have been, this past school year, streamlined quite a bit. We've created many efficiencies in our contracting out, put together a process, a little bit of a tighter process with homeless transportation to ensure that we are maintaining control of our bid for the 50% of any ride, so that we're not just accepting what Boston Public does or whatever it may be charging. In terms of Miller Field, you are correct that we do not have the field back in our possession as of yet. There was monies put into this school year's budget for a facilities coordinator for maintenance of the turf and other aspects of that field. And when the field became part of the school again, at this point we are looking at being able to have our high school spring season sports there in a verbal agreement while we're waiting for the lease to be drawn. So we did post for and interview for and appoint someone to be that facilities coordinator. That person has a job description. It will be the first time they are engaging in that job description, so it's probably going to grow like the rest of the job descriptions around here, and grow to indicate just exactly what the role and responsibility of that person is day to day. It's after school hours, so it's a stipended position, and it's from now until the end of June. And then we're going to be revisiting the position. Right now it's $5,000 per season in the budget, forecasted budget. So you have 3 seasons, and that particular person would be one person stipended. And in the meantime, just to note, part of that responsibility moving forward for the spring is there. The Miller Field Committee was gracious enough to put together a proposal for us where they are paying for the actual turf maintenance for 1 year, and during that 1 year, the reason that they're doing it is because they're going to train our people how to effectively maintain the field. So the field maintenance person that you're referring to will be being trained during this time as well by the company that maintains the turf.
This field maintenance person? And what is the custodial field maintenance?
That's the money that the town, that we pay to keep up the fields.
So
the field maintenance?
More than one field.
Yeah. Oh, this isn't just for Miller Field?
No, that's multiple fields.
That's for all the
Veterans Field.
school fields, baseball.
And you did say you were streamlining transportation, and yet the out-of-district transportation went up about $100,000?
Yeah.
So it was more than, so that's part of the streamlining, was taking a look at out-of-district transportation and homeless transportation, which if you looked at, you could see last year's budget was
right.
Was
we're budgeted for 80,000, but it's always been. We're trying to bring those lines up to where they should be. We spend
based on actuals.
Right. It's been based on actuals.
So the 180,000 is an actual then?
Yes.
And that's why it went up $100,000?
Yes.
And the homeless is 40,000, went down 40,000?
We made it 80,000 when it was 80,000 1 year. It went up astronomically, but in the past few years it's gone down and down, so we cut it in half and moved that money into out of district.
So to be honest, instead of waiting until sort of towards the end of the school year to write the lines, we've been writing the lines just about every day for the last, I don't know, 120 days, or many days we've been in school, so that this upcoming budget will reflect actuals, the actual cost of this year, and what's projected for next year, so that we're not waiting to the end of the school year to transfer money over to equalize those two lines. Because they are very separate, and they're claimed separately in terms of the Department of Education and their reflection of how you spend your money. You need to keep those two lines pretty clear.
And I think my number might be a little bit off too, Susan, because I don't have the transportation for the athletics. I didn't find that.
That's not in that.
No, so I didn't find that. So that's why my number, my actual number is 484, and it's probably near what, 650?
Yeah. Probably close.
Total.
Yeah.
Is your total combining regular
and special?
Oh, everything. It's
You're
everything.
doing it both.
Yeah.
And maintenance, transportation, ZAP salaries. I put everything in there.
Yeah.
The even the transportation coordinator, I put that in there.
All right, thank you, Karen. Any further public comments?
I just wanted to comment that I think it's important if you can fund that curriculum specialist I think it really, we need it from the central office component. And so I would urge you to support that as you keep going with your budget on that for now.
Further public comment? All right, let's move on with the hearing. Shall we go to get from the principals?
So if the principals have anything that
Comments?
they want to add, I had asked the principals to come in the event that there were specific questions around their individual buildings and the budget itself.
So I know we have the
Some
summary, but
requests
just
for the
saying we want
buildings.
to add.
And they had all done a summary as well. No questions for them? We can move on.
Can I just say one clarifying thing, because it will serve me well somewhere down the road?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's on page 14.
That's why we asked the question.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to note that in kindergarten, frankly, we don't have 7 sections, we have 6. So it speaks to my submission of adding a kindergarten teacher.
What page are you on?
Page 14.
That's what we're looking at.
So actually, the average class size is 24.5.
Right, so that's the projected 18-19.
Right.
So that means we're asking.
That's what,
So
that's
we-
teacher, that's
So
why
in
it
this
says
budget, we
7
asked for another
sections.
kindergarten
Okay.
teacher.
So that's the projected budget.
Oh, okay, good, all right,
class
thank
size.
you.
Put them together.
Yeah, so just for clarity, that is projecting what it would look like if in fact
If I
there
get
were
that.
7 teachers.
Okay.
If we only have 6, and it stays at 6, the class size would be about 24.5.
All right, thanks, I
Even
just
though
wanted
you
to.
really can't have half a child in a room. That's 24.5.
No,
generally.
Generally, 1 equals 2. We won't go into that algorithm.
I know, we can do that later in the principal's meeting.
Thanks.
And DSP's there.
The ESP is in there as well.
Sorry. All right, so.
Close it.
You want to begin the meeting?
Close it up.
Motion to close the budget hearing.
Motion.
By Mr. Matucci, second by President Vecchia. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstains? The ayes have it. All right, moving on with the regular meeting. Ms. Hames, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Fabiano?
Yeah.
Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Ms. Powell? Present. Ms. Swope? Present. Mr. Vecchia?
Here.
Mr. Perrin?
Still here.
Mr. Capadia?
Here. Any other delegates and visitors here? Superintendent Howard? Let's see what we have.
You guys have
Do you guys have anything?
Public comments again?
All right, we had a lot of public comment. It's open, please remember, it's public comment, not discussion. I understand it's very important, so that's why I let it go. Do you guys have anything to say, or you just here to hang out? Or?
I think we're all here in support of,
Yeah, I meant the students, if they.
well, I know, because
Gotcha.
it was about the preschool
Perfect.
and Mr. Mazzaro actually distinguished that,
Yep.
according, that we were, our big thing, obviously, is the preschoolers, but it was such a beneficial program to the high school.
Absolutely.
Am I allowed to say something regarding that?
Absolutely.
Okay, everyone, I'm Senior Class President Michaela Norris. I never had the opportunity to take Child Growth and Development class, but I do take advanced drama and I'm a mentor with the life skills students, and we work with the preschoolers closely for both of those classes. And I think, like, as a high school student, although it is not going to affect me next year, it was a really important part of my high school, getting to be able to spend time with the preschoolers. And I think them coming to drama also helps them with, like, a lot of social skills, breaking them out of their shell. We do a lot of things in drama with like scene work, where we have, okay, try to form this conversation with each other. So that was really good working with them. And also we do lunch buddies with the mentor program and the life skills. And so exposing those preschoolers to students with disabilities is also a really good thing. That alone is so much inclusion. And we actually have a life skills student who goes to work with the preschoolers once, twice, 3 times a week to, you know, work with them closely. So my comment is just that I think it's a really, really awesome program for the high schoolers to be a part of, whether it's the drama or the life skills mentoring program. So, thank you.
and I know I'm breaking my own rules and I'm not answering Michaela, so I won't look at her, but I would like to make just one more comment about, because I value the student's vision of the benefits and how the student sees the benefits of having a preschool. And Mr. Crombie and Ms. Pearson and Ms. O'Connell and myself, we still have some work to do, and I believe there's still room for more conversation about how our high school students can continue to be included. And the beautiful thing about Winthrop is the distance between the schools, and although the situation of where the preschoolers may be next year may not be optimal, but there are ways to find, not ideal, not the perfect situation, but ways to continue those relationships. Mr. Cross, who happens to be a life skills teacher, and I will have some, along with Ms. O'Connell, have some more conversation about how we may be able to continue and should continue that moving forward. The traveling will be a little bit in terms of students leaving the high school and coming over to the preschool in order to keep that going, even if, you know, with the plan being to return the program at some point, to not break that cycle would be helpful. Again, I know it's not ideal. It's easier and more convenient and smoother to have it all in one building. I understand that. But that definitely will be an option moving forward as well.
Any further public comment?
Thank you. Yeah, waited all these years to do public.
Yeah.
John Massaro, 43 Dolphin Ave. The real reason I came tonight, not just because I heard about a couple of things, so I popped in, but I just wanted to congratulate the Winthrop High Drama Society. For those of you who understand, and you know, yes, they made it to the festival, and last year they made it to the finals and they won. But to come back and repeat is truly amazing, and it's a very, very rare occasion. And the special thanks goes out to Karen Kalinda, Stephen Vieira, Nick Raponi, and all those students. They work very hard. I know that you're all proud, but the pride in watching them win that and compete up against great talent, we need to understand that and really take a real sense of enjoyment on that. As well as yesterday going on Facebook and watching and seeing and listening to the middle school bands in the MICA competition. Winthrop has become a perennial arts town, folks, and I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of you guys for really supporting that as school committee, because if you'll notice now under the new education requirements for what they're going to rate you on, but as districts, the arts now are a big component of how they're going to rate you, and really with Winthrop, you're right up there. So I just wanted to congratulate you folks and congratulate the people that were involved, and keep it going. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Just another comment. As a member of the Finance Commission, I will have the privilege or honor or whatever of having a presentation of this budget. Unfortunately, no presentation was given tonight for the public. They have no idea what's in this budget. They have no idea. They do have an idea what the bottom line is, but they don't have any idea how you came to that bottom line. They don't have any idea of the raising costs on different things, especially the fixed costs. They don't have any idea of what Mr. Crombie or Mr. Curley have asked for as far as teachers are concerned, that they feel is necessary for the buildings. And I really think that that should have been done. It wasn't done, and I'm sorry it wasn't done.
Thank you. Any further public comments? Moving on with the meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 12th meeting?
So moved.
Motion by President Vecchia.
Second.
Second by Ms. Swope. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention by Mr. Perrin, and no oppositions. Motion passes. We do have a warrant SVW 18-17, in the amount of $147,000, $970.42. I'd like to make a motion to approve that warrant. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Swope. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We also have a payroll warrant, SPW 18-17, the amount of $678,201.53. Do we have a motion to approve the payroll warrant?
So moved.
Motion by President Vecchia. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fabiano. Any discussion on the motion? In favor? All in favor, say aye.
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 Abstentions?
Abstain.
One abstention, no oppositions. And we do have a budget transfer in the amount of $54,786.79. Do we have a motion to approve the budget transfer?
Motion to approve budget transfer. Second.
Motion by Ms. Powell, seconded by Ms. Swope. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I don't think we have any building and grounds reports this evening. Mr. Fabiano, you report on the athletics building and grounds subcommittee?
Yeah, so we had a meeting at 5:30 on March 19th. Myself, Tino, and Gus were there, and were the other people on as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Vinnie Crossman, Phil Lundberg, and Rich Safini were there as well. And this will came in at the end. So we were just discussing what the youth lacrosse were interested in, and they were looking for us to move along and try to come up with a solution for youth sports. We explained to them that we do not control Mill Field at this point in time. Things have changed a little bit. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened with the town. You'd be able to explain it. But at that time, we didn't have control of it. So we felt the only thing that we could really do was recommend to the town that whenever they felt they were ready to rent it out to youth sports or other groups, we were in full support of. We realized that we are going to be the future owner of it, so we don't see it as a negative if they were to go out and rent it, but not until they are ready to rent it. So we just felt that we could send a letter from the school department to the town saying, we recommend that you, when you're ready, to rent it out to the youth sports. We took a vote and it was 3-0 saying yes, and bring it to the full committee.
Yep. Do you have any updates on that, on the use of Miller Field, because we're on the topic?
Yes, so I'll take it outside my
Yeah, just because we're on the topic.
Sure. So I have had several meetings with the subcommittees, I've attended some of the subcommittee meetings, but also lots of discussion with the town manager. And I anticipate a lease proposal to be coming this week, which would allow the school to have use of the field until it is fully turned over to us, which would be upon the completion of the project, whenever that may be. We hope sooner than later, but there's still work to be done at Miller Field. So the town is willing to provide us a lease so that we can occupy the field, utilize the field for sports, and there'll be more verbiage in the lease. We will send that lease. So at this point, we're planning to conduct all our practices and home games for lacrosse and track on Miller Field. That's both boys and girls, lacrosse and track. We've ordered porta potties because the field house is not ready, so we have to put porta potties on the field so that, obviously, so that the students can have access to those and visitors as well. The coordinator of the field has been hired, as I spoke about earlier, and again, it's a stipended position for the spring season. He's getting acclimated with the field equipment beginning as early as today. He will be working with the turf company to begin learning how to care for the turf, as the Miller Field Committee has secured a year of service for us to train our staff at their expense. His primary role right now is to open and close the field, work on the turf maintenance and training, begin the process of organizing and facilitating the setup and breakdown for the athletic events for our games and practices. He's going to be acting as liaison between the athletic director, the custodians, and begin working on schedules that will be necessary for ongoing facility maintenance and planning. He is under the direction of the athletic director at this time and works after school hours beyond the school day. After meeting with the athletic director and the high school principal regarding our initial use of the field, this is new for us in terms of the facility. Miller Field has been there for many years. but the actual use and the rules and regulations around going on and off the track, walking across the track, not walking across the track, having the right footwear on, what you can bring on and off the field, who can be standing on the field, how to keep people from not going on the field or walking on the track, the number of folks at an event, what that will entail in terms of cleaning up of the stands, emptying of the barrels, scheduling to have the porta potties taken care of, and making sure that field is secure is all new to us. So working closely with the athletic director and the facilities coordinator will be very important. My suggestion to the committee right now is once the lease is received, that we forward that off to the school's attorney for review so that he can read through it and properly vet it out. For us to continue the discussion on the field use manual that has been provided to the school committee, which includes a fee structure, a suggested fee structure based on what other communities are charging for use of that field. For the subcommittee to continue to discuss the use of the field beyond high school sports, including but not limited to whatever the lease is allowing us to do, and if that includes rentals, with a clear understanding, if it includes rentals or any other use, if that is in the lease, that the subcommittee continue to take a look at that, with a clear understanding of the district's ability to manage any of those things, whether it's community use or rental or just school use. I'd like to include in the discussion identifying funding sources for all use beyond school use, and certainly I would participate in that discussion. The subcommittee then would report those findings back to the committee as a whole. I fully agree with your statement of being able to have youth groups, the youth in the community, whether it's youth lacrosse or youth soccer or youth football, be able to use the fields and to support that statement as long as, and if it is the town that's going to do the rentals, then as long as the town is ready, willing, and able to do so, if it's going to be the school, depending on the lease, as long as we have our fee structures in place and the committee has approved the use manual and the fee structures, I would fully support that thought.
Is there a question about whether or not, who's going to determine whether the lease includes being in public use and youth sports? Shouldn't we have a say in that, to say this is what we want?
So it's my understanding, and you may be able to correct me if I'm wrong from the town council president perspective, but it's my understanding that the town itself still maintains control over the field until the field is fully turned back to the school when the project is completed. Because the town has to oversee the project because of the funding, until that project is totally completed, they still maintain control. They have the right to lease it to us, and they have the right to put parameters in the lease itself. So if they would like the school district to have that field under a lease with no parameters, they can do that. But I would assume that their own attorneys, Copeland and Page, I believe it is, will, maybe I'm the wrong one, will give them an indication of what they should be allowing us to do and what we're not allowed to do under that lease.
And by lease, this isn't a paid situation?
No,
this is just all.
It's only because the
Okay.
project is not complete.
Okay.
Because the field house is not complete. The town is not turning over the field back to the school. So basically, we're leasing it back to the school department to use during construction.
Are there things other than the field house that need to be done?
Yeah.
Just minor things. Minor. Punch list. Punch list.
Okay.
But was your question after it's turned over to the school committee?
No,
then
it's
what
just,
would we do?
No, it's just
Okay.
this lease agreement, and I think and we all heard the frustration of youth not understanding what's going on, and not understanding who's making those decisions and who to even say, as you're making this is what we want you to consider.
The intent is not to restrict the use to any club, organization, or school, whatever. The town has to protect its, legally protect itself.
Right.
And because it's an unfinished project.
Okay.
If it was a finished project, it'd be a different story. Because it's unfinished, the liability is with the town, not the school department. So they have to really make sure that whatever they do legally is appropriate.
And there would be insurance questions if something were to happen on the field. whose insurance would it?
Right.
Mr. Fabiano?
So you felt it would be about another week before town manager would get back to you with that lease?
Yeah, I talked to Terry today, and we should have it within the next week or so.
Yeah, and then we'll send it off to our attorney to read, just to make sure that it's okay to sign. And, you know, I think that when we talk about the community and youth groups not really understanding what's happening, the school district and the town have been watching the project from the get-go and from the day it started. So attending the Miller Field committee meetings and speaking pretty frequently with Vinnie Crossman and knowing where the project is each step of the way, we are mindful and understanding that there is a timeline that goes on with a project this large, and sometimes things get in the way of the project being done sort of on the exact time frame that it was predicted. But in terms of access to the field for youth sports or rentals, that timeline, although I can see because the field is open and people see other people on it, one would expect that everybody could be on it. From the school district's perspective, if it is us that is to rent that field out, the school committee also has to have an approved process in place in order to do that, which you have had a draft, you know, and have been going through that draft diligently, looking at that. However, the timeline of the youth groups and the timeline of the project are not exactly in sync. And I don't think that the school district or the town that I know of through any of the committee meetings has said that they were ready to rent it, and that's kind of what drew the people into asking to rent it. I believe people came and asked to rent it before the town or the school said we were going to rent it. That doesn't mean we don't want to, but the speed with which we can get that done may not be as fast as people would like. And I think that's where some of the concern and some of the questions are coming. But I don't think for 1 minute the town or the school doesn't agree that the community and the youth should be able to use the field. But the field is not fully completed as of yet, and that's why it's still with the town.
And I think it's in the opinion of the subcommittee that we'd like to see youth sports in there sort of right away. And I know one of those seasons is about to start.
Correct.
So we'd like to do what we can to make that happen.
So even if we get the lease this week, and then we send it out to our lawyers, would we expect it back from our lawyers by our next school committee meeting?
I would ask for that. I would ask for that because of the timing.
Okay.
And it's not, I would imagine it's not going to be something that's going to be a lot of reading. I'm assuming it's going to be a few pages, like the 1 day, because we did have a 1 day lease for the use of Miller Field on Thanksgiving. And the other important piece that I'm not sure the committee is aware of is the Title IX obligation that we have. So that field was open for students to play a football game on. And if it could at all possible be open for the same students, because it was a school facility, to also access that, both boys and girls, under Title IX, that should be looked at as to whether or not there is an ability to play sports on that field for girls' sports as well as boys' sports in an equivalent manner. And if the answer is no, the answer is no. But if the answer is yes, under Title IX, it should be allowed, which is totally separate from youth activities or rental or community, because that Title IX doesn't cover those items under sort of the school rules.
Well, so the lease could cover just high school activities, which would include any Title IX sports.
It could, and that is hence the reason that I think Tino and the subcommittee are supporting, if in fact that's the case, that we believe that we want to support the town then renting it out to those groups. If in fact they have the capacity to do so, they're ready to do that.
And when do we anticipate the hiring of the school facilities manager?
That's already been done. That's been done.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
that was
started today, you
posted
said, correct?
3 weeks ago.
Also, it's hired.
And he has been hired from now through June,
Okay.
because it's a stipended position.
So is that some way that we can support the town with his services, if we had to?
So in the proposed manual, it shows that if there is going to be a rental of the facility from any other group aside from the school group, that is a necessity of the rental, that whoever's doing the rental, part of the rental would include the facility coordinator to be there to ensure that this $9.8 million field that we have is well taken care of.
It's gonna, you know, we have an investment that we have to
Right.
protect, and it's
So,
not gonna be
yes.
like the old days where if the field is rented out, that, you know, the gates open and
Mhm.
you just go. Everything's gotta be controlled, who goes on the field, how they go on the field, to make sure the track is protected, that kids are not running over it with cleats and so forth. So it's a little sophisticated than it was before.
And it is included in that manual in terms of the fee structure and the recommended fee structure, that the committee has the right to change that fee structure if they so choose. But the recommendation from all the other facilities that we've looked at that have new complexes surrounds itself with that one person who is the person that makes sure that when the field is open and closed, and who's ever renting it has a checklist of activities to make sure everything was taken care of before they left. And part of the rental includes paying that person to do that.
Okay, so at what point do we start to talk about, and maybe this is a question for the facility, your subcommittee, at what point do we talk about public access and when the public will have access to it? Is that after we've got the field leased, or is that after we've got the field back entirely?
So if the school committee has the desire to open it up to the public, that's something that the school committee would have to make a plan for, along with myself, about what that would look like, what the coverage would look like, the funding source. Because if it's open during public time, there would be no fee, obviously, unless we're charging people, you know, which is not in that facilities manual, to become a member of the Miller Field use, you know, group. That's not proposed in there. There is nothing in that manual that speaks to community time. However, you know, I'm open to have conversations with the town as well.
Mr. Perrin.
When we have these outside rentals, are we gonna require an insurance binder for the field itself?
So
For
yes,
any damage?
in the manual, there is an insurance binder must for nonprofits and for-profits that shows their own coverage. Just like any other rental of facilities having to have that coverage.
Because this is the sports team, the youth team's opening day is approaching, I'd like to make a motion that the school committee was to draft a letter in support to the town manager and town council, requesting the use of the field to Winthrop Youth Sports, so long as an agreed upon price is paid for rental, and our youth and our school facilities manager is available. And if he's not available, that the town facilities manager volunteers his time.
Does that also, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make an amendment to that and take away the dollar amount. I think this first couple months, we shouldn't be worried about the dollars. I mean,
as long as it's agreed upon terms, I just want to make sure that everyone's
but I don't want to think that we're worried about the money the month of April, May, whatever we collect the next couple months is not important.
But I don't want to,
as far as I'm concerned, as much as going forward, we want to have that fee structure. But to open it and get it going, what that exact dollar amount, to me, it's not a huge concern.
My only concern is I don't want the general public thinking we're favoring that group in particular. I think it's only that season's about to start. So
I'd rather not have the.
I would just like to word it as long as it's agreed upon terms.
Then I'll remove my amendment.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Swope. Any further discussion, Mr. Perrin?
That is after it's leased back over to us as we're talking, or?
I'd like to say immediate, we support immediately.
Whether it's, this vote was taken before we found out that we were getting it leased to us. And we still don't know the exact wording of it or how it's gonna come. If we send it to them and then they send it to us, then the letter's pointless. Yep. But if they send us the lease and they're gonna do the rentals, this is saying, okay, we support you renting, even though we're gonna be the future owner of this, we're in support of you renting this. If you feel comfortable, if you feel that everything is in order to rent it.
Yep, there's nothing possible. We're just saying we're okay with this sport.
We don't find it to be a negative.
Yeah, playing their first few games. So long as our facilities manager is available, or the town facilities manager volunteers his time.
So your idea is that even if we don't have control of the fields, they would still have the opportunity to use it?
Yes.
This puts the onus on the town. Yes.
We just want to see the kids be able to use the field. That's all it is.
And just for clarity purposes, and if the
just for their games,
if the onus is on the town, and the lease reflects that the school department can rent the field out. I think the committee needs to consider the manual that they have and the fee structure
Absolutely.
that they have, and any changes to that fee structure, and an approval of that manual, because I do not believe the school committee has the authority to rent it out without an approved fee structure and without an approved process, I think. I'm pretty sure,
We would
because we didn't have one otherwise.
Under this letter, we wouldn't be, it would be the town.
It would depend on where it
Correct,
lays.
I'm talking about if you can send the letter, but
Yeah,
if the
we're
lease
just
comes
saying
back that the school
we're
district.
okay with the
We
Winthrop
need to
Youth
have it,
Sports
then that
playing
has to
there,
be-
that's all it is.
Yes, yes.
I just don't see how you could rent it out without that, but that would need to.
So the athletic subcommittee will
Yeah.
meet next week, assuming that there's a good chance that we're gonna get an opportunity to lease it out come the next school committee meeting, and we'll have to get fee
So-
structure in order.
Right,
prior
so we
to
would
that.
be able to vote on the fee structure and the manual at the next meeting. At the same time, we would approve any,
If in the subcommittee we had it finalized.
yeah.
Jim,
So you kind of review exactly what you're trying to.
what was the letter saying again?
and
The letter is saying to the town that basically we're okay with the Winthrop Youth Sports using access to Miller Field for their upcoming season, so long as we, both sides agree to terms, and if our school's field facilities manager isn't available, that the town facility manager volunteers his time.
I don't know if that's something we can do. I think we have to, I think what we're trying to say is that
We're okay
we
with the
want,
use of the field.
we,
That's all.
we're
We don't
encouraging,
want to say we're okay, we say we want to
We're
encourage.
encouraged,
we're
exactly.
encouraging any town youth organization that want to use or want to use the field, that's great.
Yep.
So all we really need to say is,
And their season starts in a few weeks, so
yeah, I know.
we want to speed up the
But there's
process.
things that have to be done first. So all we really need to want to say with the letter is that the school committee is in favor of other town organizations having access to Miller Field at the time that all the procedures and leases and everything are approved. That's it.
By the time you get this letter written and sent.
Yeah, it'll be all done.
You're gonna have the agreement in hand. I mean,
But-
the town is moving forward to turning over the school, you know.
Right, I
leasing it
think,
to
I
the
think
school.
the issue is,
And we're not,
once
let
it
me
gets
just,
to us.
let me just say this to you. The town is not in the position, the town side is not in the position to open the field and run the field, because we don't have a maintenance person, nor do we have a maintenance program. So that's the reason why you finally put together a program of maintenance for the field. So everything is coming together, even though it sounds like people have been dragging their feet. You finally come up with a policy for it. The school department will receive, ownership of, temporary ownership of the field very shortly. We're not trying to hold anything up.
Well, I don't think we're saying that you are.
I'm not saying
All
you
we're
are.
saying is that we want to make sure the
Encouraging.
public knows, because I think there's a perception out there
It's
that
town
we only want the schools to use it, not the town organizations.
I
So we
agree.
need to have something out there
Yep.
just to show that we're in favor, because I think I'm 90% sure, 99%, we're gonna get a lease in the field, and we're gonna probably have to run the field, and that's fine. But we need to make sure the public knows that we want, because this is the way it was sold to the taxpayers, everybody use the field. So that's all we really wanna say.
And we don't think anybody's dragging their feet.
No, not at all.
No,
Not at all.
no, it's
Not
been
at
a
all.
very fast process. We just want to make sure every kid in this town has access to the field.
So that would be, the only thing I would say in the letter would be, at that time, would be just that we're in favor of everybody using the field.
Can we ask in that letter, and maybe this is redundant, but, or not necessary, but that it ensures that we have the capacity to lease to the youth groups? Because that would be my concern, because I don't know how much you know about what's gonna go into that lease, but my concern would be that they lease it to us to use only for high school sports. And
It's
then
not
we
gonna be
would,
too much different than the lease you had for Thanksgiving Day game, quite honestly.
Nope.
I'm talking to the,
okay.
it's just talking to the town manager.
It's really our procedures that we have to be concerned with.
Correct, so if I
That's
may,
what I'm saying.
I agree with the use of the field for youth groups and whomever wants to rent it. My concern for the school department, and that's my job, is to bring the concerns to you and to advise you and for you to make decisions. My concern at this point is making sure if in fact we do have the ability, under the lease, to rent the field to organizations, that we have a procedure in place and a process in place that covers the $9.8 million project that the town has invested in, and that those procedures and fee structures are approved by the school committee. That can always be, each individual case can be vetted out if in fact you're gonna waive it for a nonprofit, however you would like to do that. And that the school department has the capacity to cover what they're going to be doing financially. So it's to have youth organizations rent it, and those fee structures were recommended to support the overage of that, the coverage of that, the cost of that, so that the school district is not shouldering the field in and of itself in its entirety, because I don't believe the school department has the capacity to keep that field open and covered without support at all, without a fee structure. So that is my only concern. In terms of public use of the field, again, my support of that would be when there is a plan in place to support the responsibility and the cost of keeping it open for public use, which is separate and distinct from rentals.
Ms. Perrin.
Do we even need to send a letter over where we have the council president sitting here that can communicate that? His role is to bridge the two, just to bring out that over.
Very happy to save you paper.
Or to write it.
We have a motion on the table and a second. So I feel I'd like to go forward. Ms. Hames, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Fabiano?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Mr. Vecchia?
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco?
Yes.
Mr. Maron?
Yes.
Moving on, anything further with the subcommittee report?
No, with athletic buildings and grounds, we had one on the same day at 6 o'clock. We touched upon transportation and how we're gonna take care of transportation going forward. We didn't come up with too much stuff. We're gonna still keep it in-house in the subcommittee for the time being. We did have one vote that, where is it? One motion was to give Haley the athletic contract only. It was voted 1 yes, 2 no, so that didn't move on. After we discussed the transportation, we went to maintenance, and we got into the conversation about the maintenance computer program that was given to the school when they built the new school. Gilbane gave us this program, or we paid for it, that kept track of every piece of maintenance in all the schools. So we're just trying to get a little more information on that program. We're going to try to have a sit down with Rich and Mikhail, so they could go over that program and show it to us and kind of get a grasp of how to really use that and make it beneficial to the school system. So we're going to set up that meeting. So other than that, we really had nothing else to bring back to the committee.
Superintendent's report?
So we've been all over the map with the superintendent's report,
Yeah,
and injecting it everywhere. So just a few things to report on. We've covered Miller Field. We've covered to a degree the preschool. Again, my plan would be to be holding a parent forum once some decisions have been made around preschool for further discussion with parents so that they can have a better understanding in a less formal setting about where the district is moving in terms of the Little Vikings program and more detail as we get further in the process. The program will remain open the rest of this school year, and we continue to plan for it. There are still a lot of details that need to be worked out, and certainly eliminating the program for good is not something that any one of us are planning on. However, both from a financial and a programmatic perspective, we really need to bring it into compliance, and I spoke of that at length. So I do plan to hold a parent forum for our parents that are interested in sitting down to talk to the principals and myself, and we will get that out to folks. In terms of Miller Field, I think we've covered that pretty well. I do believe that the committee, if it is turned back to us, does need to look at that fee structure, and therefore, if we are allowed to rent it out, I am in full support of that, as long as the procedures and policies are in place to do so that cover us in order for us to keep that commitment to maintaining the field being brand new. In terms of other notes, congratulations to Chelsea DePaz as well as the band. Our Winthrop Select Band took the silver medal at the Michael Festival, which is just amazing. We had a great, big weekend here in Winthrop in terms of band and drama, as Mr. Massaro pointed out. And then our middle school band receiving the bronze at that same festival. So great job by Chelsea. She was in contact with me. I was not able to attend that. I was, however, able to see the third Faustus presentation for myself. I got to watch them do a trial, their practice run, because I didn't think I was going to get to their first performance. I was able to get to their first performance, and it was outstanding. The costumes were, they blew other teams away, just in their look, in terms of the costumes and their performance. And it was second to none. I think important is what happens behind the scenes. I actually got to check that out in terms of how the stage is set up, all of the things they put on the stage. And you know, I'm not an expert in drama, as you can tell. However, I have spent quite a bit of time with the drama kids, and I was again blown away. And then Saturday, I did get to go into town to watch them do their performance. And saw so many Winthrop people there, obviously, and watching the other students who went to watch their performance. So part of Drama Festival is there are, I believe it's 12, maybe 15, 14, just like I said, thank you, Ms. Powell, 14 schools competing, and part of the process is, if you qualify, you have to go and watch the other teams, which I think is so important in terms of supporting each other. I think this particular group of students would do that anyway, but it was great to see them cheering each other on and being super happy for each other. And I had been with a few of the parents about half hour prior to their performance, and parents were kind of like, yeah, they know we were state champions last year. And I said, I really think you're going to do it again. Oh, it's kind of hard to do it twice, the parents were saying. So I think the parents were way more realistic than me. And then lo and behold, while I was watching the Salve Regina men's hockey national game on television, because I didn't have a babysitter, they were being talked about as being the state champions, and my telephone started to blow up. And so it was super exciting, and they got a police escort into town, and it was loud, and they were very proud, and they should be. So that was just amazing, great weekend. So congratulations to that whole crew. Couple of other notes: full court frenzy, the last school canceling day, which I put on the rookie books along with tonight's presentation. Thank you very much, Karen, or lack thereof. We'll put that, and I'm going to tag that as two spots in my rookie column as a rookie superintendent. That I canceled school on a night that I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed. It was like 4 to 8 inches worth of snow. I don't sleep well to begin with. This night I happened to sleep well. Got up at 4 o'clock, looked out the window. There wasn't a flake of snow on the ground at all. And I have to admit, I didn't know what to do. I said, are we allowed to do do-overs? And I don't think we are. So I think I would have had 50% of the parents mad at me for trying to do a do-over, 50% of the parents mad at me because there wasn't a flake of snow on the ground. Quite frankly, I had to go to work, so it didn't matter anyway. And here I came to work all day. I didn't get a lot of negative feedback. I don't do social media, so for those of you who decided social media was the place to be negative, thank you, as opposed to calling me. I was here in the office all day. The key to school cancellations for me is student safety, and there are many factors that we look at. I'll be putting something out to the parents that I think is important for them to see around how we come to that decision. And it's not just because I think it would be a good day not to have school, but because I canceled school on a day that we didn't have snow, we have to reschedule the full court frenzy for the middle school. That'll be April 5th. And the vaping forum that has been moved a couple of times is now April 12th, and that will be at the high school. The FinCom meeting of Wednesday, April 11th at 6:30 at the DeLeo Senior Center is going to be the place where the principals are going to be presenting their budget and the increases, so I encourage the public to attend. It is more of a formal meeting with the FinCom where they're able to ask questions, knowing that they have not participated in any of our planning. Our plan was to make sure that they had a full understanding. So for those of you who would like to see that full presentation, I encourage you to attend that. And I believe,
What day was that?
so that is April 11th. I think I sent an email to Mr. Capabianco today to get out to the rest of the committee so that you could attend that as well. And that's at 6:30 at the Senior Center. And I believe that is it.
What are those other 2 days, I'm sorry? The full court frenzy.
Full court frenzy is April 5th, I believe it's at 6 o'clock. And the vaping forum that has been changed a couple of times, which is a presentation by CASA, along with some of us at the public school, is April 12th. And I believe that's at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
6 o'clock at Winthrop High School, in the auditorium in the theater.
Personnel?
It's moving me too fast tonight. Personnel, appointments, Jeff, and I'm gonna not be able to put Soligy, is our new interim athletic trainer. I met him, and he has already started his work with us and meeting the students, getting to know the students, along with being supervised by our athletic director. Vasily Malios is our coordinator of athletic facility, that stipend position we talked about for Miller Field. Vasily began today. That was posted for about 2 weeks. We interviewed 3 people applied, we interviewed 2, and Vasily was chosen by the athletic director, recommended to me.
Good hire.
And appointed today.
Lisa, just quickly, can we have a volunteer backup for him, or is that not a possibility?
So, as again, learning and being, new with this field, yes, we do need to have somebody else who can, in the event that Vasily is not available to do something. Right now, it's the athletic director that would take over, because Vasily's primary role right now is school athletics. When it moves to rentals, if we get to that point and we have he is the person that would have to be on the field at all times, we have to have a backup for him, or we can't rent it. So there's going to be conditions of the rental, which would be that there would be an available facilities person. So yes.
Legally, can we have a volunteer, or does it have to be a paid backup?
I don't know the answer to that legally. We would ideally, from the school district's perspective, want somebody who knows what they're doing and knows the rules. And part of our senior job is to get in there and build those checklists of things that need to be done to ensure that everything is okay on the field.
I would assume it's part of the teacher's contract, though.
No,
so it's not.
No, it's not part, because this is a stipended position, so it's not a contract position. The only contract piece of Miller Field right now is the custodial fee and the custodial mandatory 4-hour custodial piece to that. That's the only tie to any contracts. And that is it for appointments. Resignations, we have none. Retirements, we have none. Postings, there will be winter athletic postings going up, correct? We're always
late this afternoon.
Okay, it was posted late this afternoon, so we're always seasons ahead of ourselves with our postings now for athletics. Because as you know, from the beginning of the year, we're posting all coaches every season. And a lot of seasons start before the season. So you're posting and hiring, even though it won't start till the winter. Those positions have been posted so we can move on with the hirings and get folks onboarded. Leaves of absence, we have none. And that is it.
Any new business? All right. Moving on with unfinished business. We'd like to go over the proposed 2018-2019 school calendar.
Is that what we're on the calendar?
Yep.
Okay, so in front of you, you should have the 2017 and 18 calendar, just for reference, which would be this school year's calendar, and also a proposed 2018-2019 calendar. And what we did with the calendars was looked at a bunch of different options with principals and the leadership team in terms of starting dates and end dates. We used 6 snow days this year. Fortunately, we started early enough that we didn't have to run into questions about utilizing April vacation or getting us, adding extra hours or extra time. Mindful of that, and not thinking the weather's going to be getting any better. Superintendent might get a little better at snow day calls, so you might buy back a day. But I put 3 options out to the principals to review. Biggest piece of thought into this was surrounding professional development because of our ongoing discussions around pointed and targeted professional development for all related to curriculum standards and our curriculum maps and aligning them with the curriculum standards in the NEOMCAS. So the calendar that you have before you would reveal an August 28th and August 29th start date for teachers, so that they could have 2 full days of targeted professional development on curriculum. September 4th would be the third professional day for them. They have 183 days in their calendar for teachers. So on that third day, which would be September 4th, it would be a full day, the welcome meeting, which would be my presentation to the staff as a whole, and then they return to their buildings for building-based professional development and some very targeted items for the whole school district surrounding our compliance issues, civil rights information that the whole school has to go over, some social emotional information around our students, and some very really pointed discussions around consistency of practice in each building. So running on that day about 2 hours of directed principal instruction around compliance and things like that, as well as getting your classrooms ready and up and running. And then September 5th would be the first day for students, as well as the rest of the faculty, of course, coming in. That would give us a June 14th last day of school without any snow days. And if we had to add snow days, I'm going with 5 snow days, because I'm going to improve my record. That would get us out on the 21st if we only had 5 snow days. Still leaves us a little bit of wiggle room. The other options that were looked at were adding a professional development day in the middle, so only doing 2 professional days, development days before the students came, and then doing a follow-up mid-school year. Principals and administrative team and discussions at their buildings felt that that can be disruptive, and they'd rather front-load themselves with professional development and get up and running. And they asked for a little bit more time, so this would be just the general calendar, and then teacher conferences and half-days. We would like to add that to the calendar within the next month. Working together to see the best use of time and trying to maximize the total number of days we have with students, and looking at when those half-days occur on what day of the week. There's been some discussion of them being Fridays being sort of counterproductive, and that the students seem to not be on board on a Friday, and when it's a half a day, we're even a little bit more off because it's the end of the week. So looking at maybe those half days being on a different day, but certainly making sure that parents are aware ahead of time. So
maybe this is a personal issue with me, but I would rather see Fridays than a cut in the midweek. I mean, in the midweek, it's just because there's student activities. There's all sorts of, I think, challenges for parents in midweek versus on Fridays.
So maybe I'll ask the principal. Maybe we'll pull the committee too as well. And we haven't made the decision yet. There's just been lots of conversation around Fridays. Principals and teachers feeling like Fridays were difficult in terms of keeping kids' attention in school on a Friday. But they have to more to be visited on that. That's why it's not included in the calendar. Certainly will be. This was more to get the start and end dates on the calendars for the committee. I'm not sure in the past if it's gone to no subcommittee. It's just a vote of the school committee.
No. You want to vote to approve? You want to approve? You want this calendar approved?
If the committee could do so.
A motion to approve the proposed 2018-2019
Second.
School calendar by myself, second by Mr. Matucci. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Thank you. And I will bring
Motion
those
passes.
additional comments for a second vote once we have the half days. The additional information if a second vote is needed.
Let's move on with the meeting. Any further public comment? Hearing none. Public relations. Mr. Matucci.
Set.
Fabiano.
2 things. Excuse me. First, WINOC has their yearly fundraiser April 29th. They were looking for sponsors and donations. Or just for you to show up for the walk, that'd be appreciated. And also, the other day I was driving by and I saw the kids, the track team out on the track practicing, so I was so excited. I went down, I was talking to Coach McPhail, and they said their first track meet, I believe, is April 2nd. So it's the first home track meet in I don't know how many years, so pretty exciting to see that happen.
I have 3 quick things. Monday, April 9th, from 5 to 10 at La Siesta. 10% of their sales is going to Winthrop cheerleaders, dine in or dine out. Also, I attended the Winthrop's Got Talented show. Awesome show. Congratulations to all those involved. And also, not only was I inspired over the weekend by Emma Gonzalez and the students across the country, the event that I attended last week at Winthrop High School was one of the most inspiring events I've ever attended, not only in my life, but in Winthrop. And just congratulations to our students and a job well done by all. Mr. Parent?
Nothing for me.
Ms. Powell?
The high school will be having their Kindness Week, April 2nd through the 6th, including a Spread the Word assembly. And then they also have their Wellness Week the following week, right before vacation. And also, just a reminder, the Spring Showcase, the middle school drama program, which is also a very strong program, is April 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Lisa, I just want to say thanks to your principals that are letting me in on Tuesday. I will be glad to be walking around on all those schools, so thanks.
You kids.
I just have a couple of things. First of all, congratulations to the band. They did a tremendous job with silver and bronze. And to the drama students, again. Also, just a reminder that CASA is losing their funding, so they're doing a fundraiser, and it's going to take place on Saturday, April 21st, here in Winthrop at the Neil Shapiro Center. And the headliner is Jimmy Tingle, who is a comedian. Tickets are $30 in advance, $35 at the door. For more information, just contact CASA, or you can check them out on Facebook. That's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Matucci. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? The ayes have it.
Already sent out.